Hey, I'm Karai. Like some Viktor content, some middling content? Consider subscribing, maybe even hitting that like button. It'll help me up a lot. And if you do, you'll get blue buff. Viktor Challenger. The only rule, I can only play Viktor. Unless it's banned, then we're playing Orianna. No Viktor jungle, no Viktor support, maybe Viktor Bali, and that's about it.
Hello friends, welcome back to another gameplay review. This is a Diamond 2 game where I'm playing against a Lissandra. I would say this game I had a pretty bad start. I'm already making several mistakes, and one of them is that I'm not pushing the wave correctly. I opted to start E against Lissandra because I just have better range, and I don't really want to trade autos with her because she has Electrocute. I think I definitely could have used my E slightly better against her by hitting her and the wave instead of just her. Here she gets level 2 because she got a ward earlier. It's not a big deal, and my main focus really is just to poke her down because I know Lissandra doesn't have any natural sustain, and I was able to do so by zoning her off. She managed to push the wave in, but not completely, and this would have been a great play had I just froze and base and TP back to lane, but I greeted and decided not to base, which actually cost me greatly later in the later minutes. Because if I had based, I would be able to hold this freeze much easier and able to contest her from pushing it in completely. But because I didn't base, it gave me a harder time trying to freeze this or like trying to hold this wave. And you can see it's much harder for me to tank these kind of Qs or even to tank these minions. I had to really let them go in. Mana wasn't really an issue because I had biscuits, but it's more of the health that I'm missing. I believe I was still able to hold off this wave, but you're gonna see in a couple of seconds why I say basing it's much better, especially right here. Here she decides to base, and in a similar situation I tried to stop her base and I was able to hold the freeze here. But imagine had I had base, I definitely won't be in this close situation where I definitely should have died here. For future reference, it's definitely much better to base if the wave is already freezing in front of your turret, especially if I had TP. So even though I just made it out of that previous engage just barely, you can see that by burning my flash like that, I actually get killed here through a really simple combo from Lissandra and Nocturne. Nocturne had to burn flash, but honestly, dying here is really costly for me as it hinders my ability to scale. The concept of one thing leading to another is very apparent here, as because I didn't base earlier, which forced me to burn my flash to barely survive, which got me killed later anyways. Kind of snowballs to bot lane into getting 4-man ganked by the enemy team. Some of you might be saying, well, your bot lane could have played safer and avoid getting killed, but had I had not burned flash and used my flash to save myself from the Nocturne gank, my bot lane wouldn't have died this easily. Right here again, Nocturne and Lissandra kills me, but Talon is able to get the return kill. And even though he got a return kill, it's at this point where I started to get a bit tilted from my own bad decisions, making bad plays, having poor CS, dying so freely, and obviously affecting other lanes because of my poor decisions. And as you can see here, this is also another thing where because I played poorly, this fight turned out sort of poorly for us. It looked pretty good, but because Talon, I guess in Talon's mind, I was pretty weak from dying 2 times in lane, even though I felt like we probably could have won this fight. But again, this is what happens when you don't play well from the start. It kind of just snowballs off into bad plays and worse plays. At this point, I'm just not in the right mind to play safely. I'm just making really poor choices, walking up for no reason. Obvious getting Nocturne ulted so freely for no returns. It's just overall bad plays from me. So how do we come back from this? The first thing that we need to realize is that you're not going to win games by rushing into plays. You're not going to win games by forcing plays. Instead, it's probably much better to just say, hey, okay, I fucked up, acknowledge that it happens, and just try to remind myself what the win con is. And for this case, I'm a Viktor. I know that as long as I farm and try to scale up, I should be fine. Again, a lot of the plays that's going to happen in the next couple of minutes, maybe even 10 minutes, are a result of me making bad choices in the first 10 minutes. You can see that my team isn't doing so hot either. It's 6-12, 0-4. This play, had I paid more attention, I definitely could have cut Blitzcrank off. We're definitely cutting off Nocturne here, but it's one of those things that had I paid more attention and not tilt, We could have gotten more here. We get the Nocturne here. It's pretty nice shutdown for Callista. And this is like step 1 into coming back into games where it feels lost. So right now, it's getting into the mid game. We see Nocturne and Lysandra trying to dive the Callista here, and which they do, but Callista had shield bow as well as Senna's healing that barely saves her. And because I think this is one of those plays where the enemy felt like they're ahead, they had to force plays when realistically they can just slowly choke us out. It's at this play where I could have definitely flashed for a Nocturne, but instead I held it and flashed right here, securing the kill with Ludens and E. Instead of flashing earlier and having a chance of securing the kill, I went for the 100%. Right here, I'm surprised that Callista was able to get killed by Lysandra here, but after checking the replay, I realized that her shield bow's passive wasn't up, which is why Lysandra was actually able to get the kill, even though Callista was much more ahead. As Viktor, these kind of deaths where your teammates are ahead, but they get themselves killed, it happens a lot. You just have to accept it. There's really not much you can do after the fact, but just focus on yourself. Right here, we see that they're slightly too far into our tier 2, and we're able to get the Blitzcrank here. Nocturne tries to get the Cassiopeia, but Cass is able to get away. Right here, I have my full upgrades and was able to get the slow, burning Draven's flash. I knew that Lysandra had no ult here, so I definitely knew that she has no lethal on me. And the fact that Draven's low makes it really hard for Draven to back her up. So Lysandra just gives a free kill towards us. And this is the part of the game where I realized, okay, as long as we slowly play the game out, we're able to win fights like these very slowly. Right here, I see that there's no wards with my sweeper, and I knew Draven might be coming here. So I decided to try to get a little free kill on him, but I didn't account for the exhaust. But on the same spectrum, had I played better and gotten a bigger lead for myself earlier, I definitely could have one-shotted him through the exhaust. So again, it goes back to how playing bad early snowballs into these kind of situations, but it's important to keep your mind leveled and not get tilted. Here we get a very close Baron, and I believe if the enemy had gotten this Baron, my team probably would have tilted the face off the earth. Here I'm kind of in a pickle where I don't have a really safe route to escape from. I probably should have not flashed and taken the L, because I don't think there was a way for me to really get out alive. Dying here really doesn't matter because there's no objectives on the map anyways, so I definitely should have saved the flash for sure. Right here, we knew that the enemy was around this corner, and we decided to take a fight, but unfortunately, I believe my Callisto was frontlining straight towards the enemy. And these kind of things happen, but I want to point out that I'm not playing that well in this fight because I didn't really do any meaningful amount of damage. I'm missing E's, I'm not using my R correctly. And again, you could say that, well, Callista shouldn't have frontline, otherwise we would have won this fight. I like to see it as a way that, like, hey, I didn't play well this early game. Had I played better early, I probably could have cleaned this fight myself. So you could blame the Callista, but it's just much better to focus on yourself and do what you can in order to win the game. Because by doing so, you actually train your brain to improve in the long term. So to speed things up, a few fights happened. We won most of them. We got Elder, we got Baron. A lot of things are going really well from us. And again, like, even though we had a pretty bad start, it's really, really important to keep yourself level-headed and not tilt, because, you know, at the end of the day, there's really no point in tilting, flaming your teammates. You're not gonna get better. They are not gonna get better for sure. And it's just better to improve on what you can do, because at the end of the day, this one game is not going to should not affect your other games. Bad games happen. That's just League, and you just have to accept it. Bad teammates happen. You're gonna make mistakes, but we're trying to focus on the long term. And if you want to climb, you really have to not tilt and be okay with making mistakes. It's just normal. And as you can see, I didn't tilt off. I didn't let my early frustrations continue into the mid to late game, and played, you know, increasingly better towards the late game. So just a quick summary: bad games happen, bad mistakes happen, bad teammates happen. It's all part of the game. Just focus on yourself, focus on the long term, and that's how you win. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next video.